I've known John almost since the day he came on the job back in 1993. You could see right away that John had a certain fire inside him, that he was a fighter, that he was a person who would never back down. That's important in our union. As you know, this can be a tough crowd. You need a hard edge sometimes, and you need a thick skin. The jobs you do are tough. The bosses who direct the work are tough. The conditions are often harsh, and dealing with public can be a trial by fire. Since 2010, I have worked closely with John, he as the president of Local 100, and me as the vice president of Maintenance Away. We did some great things together for this union. Now I am the president of Local 100. Thank you. And I proudly cast my ballot for John as our International Union's 10th president 6 weeks ago. Today, I view John as a true partner. I look forward to bringing the partnership to new heights as we work together, me here in the local and John there in the international. Most importantly, I view John as a loyal friend. Brothers and sisters, it is my honor to present to you our TWU International President, John Samuelson.
So it's good to be home in Local 100. I've been away just for a short couple of months, and it really is good to be home. I look around the room and see so many folks that I know, and so many struggles that we've been through together. I'm looking down, Charlie, I just saw you. An amazing thing. I find myself every time I come back just getting a little bit emotional, even though I've been gone for just a few short months, couple of months. So I don't have a prepared speech, but that's not uncommon. So I'm just going to talk from the heart a little bit. We run the National Union. A track worker from the New York City subway runs the National Union now. And the days of the local and the international not having a good relationship are done. They're finished, they're over. And honestly, that's not my decision alone. I come with a leadership team at the National, an incredibly diverse leadership team between Alex Garcia, the executive vice president, who's a ground worker for American Airlines in Miami, Gary Meslenka, who is a carman from Amtrak, Jerome LaFragola, who comes out of the Port Authority in New York City, TWU Local. John Bland, anybody know the wonderful, beautiful John Bland? John Bland is the senior. He's the senior man in the labor movement in Texas, and he's on our leadership team. And collectively, I just have a great feeling of confidence going forward, both as it relates to bolstering up these fights in New York City, which are coming, and getting into these national fights, which we're already in and we're already winning, by bringing this kind of New York-centric Local 100 fighting style to the National Union. It's already paid dividends, tremendous dividends, in fact. So, anybody know what Allegiant Air is? Allegiant Air is an airline run by a right-wing Republican from Nevada. And the TWU organized that property in about 7 years ago or so, and was unable to get a contract. And we passed a resolution on the convention floor resolving unanimously among the delegates that we were going to pump whatever resources we had to pump into that fight and get a contract for the 2,000 flight attendants that we organized 7 years ago and that the National Union was unable to get a contract for. And just 5 weeks after the convention was over, they folded and signed a contract that's going to pass overwhelmingly. And honestly, there's lessons to be learned from why they folded in 5 weeks after having resisted for 7 years. And the reason they folded is because we brought a well-thought-out strategic fight to them, and they were forced to make a decision about whether they were going to get into a very public fight with folks that had some money and folks that were thinking strategically about how to leverage them, and they folded and came to the bargaining table and settled. So there's a big lesson there, right? That's how we've won so many fights in Local 100, and that's how we're going to continue to win fights in Local 100 and points beyond across the national union. So, JetBlue. Anybody see the news about JetBlue? It's a big opportunity and a big fight for the TWU, and more importantly, a big fight for the flight attendants at JetBlue, and there's almost 5,000 of them. So we started a card signing drive just before Labor Day for nearly 5,000 flight attendants at JetBlue, and we dropped cards at the National Mediation Board to trigger a union election just a few days ago. So between Labor Day and now, we signed up the overwhelming majority of flight attendants at JetBlue. That's going to go to an election sometime in January, and there's a reason I'm bringing it up here. JetBlue is centered in New York. Out of those 5,000 is probably 2,400, nearly 5,000, is around 2,400 flight attendants in New York City. And somebody in this room is going to know somebody who works for JetBlue. And I just want to call upon the assistance of our Local 100 family to go out there and talk to every JetBlue worker that you know to vote yes, to vote TWU. Because once we win that election and we go in and fight the good fight and get a contract from the anti-union bosses at JetBlue, the floodgates are going to open and our national union is going to take off like a rocket ship, similar to the way Local 100 took off in terms of organizing. I think we were at around 37,000 members, 38,000 members, and we're over 42,500 paid up on dues now, and we're well on our way to having 45,000 members, thanks to the collective organizing work that we've done in New York. That fight the boss model is going to grow us nationally in the same way it grew us in Local 100. So, and not only is it the flight attendants, we're now organizing the mechanics at JetBlue, and we're organizing the passenger service reps at JetBlue. So again, I ask, somebody in this room knows somebody who works for JetBlue. Talk the talk, fight the fight for Local 100. Everybody's an organizer. Everybody can contribute here. So I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful to be able to raise that today and know that I can rely upon this New York City-based union to help us with this New York City-based organizing drive. Now, just a couple of more things, and I don't know how much time I have.
I'm glad you didn't come with a prepared speech.
So we're facing a pretty monumental challenge to our ability to function and frankly, to survive as a union. And the TWU is well positioned compared to our other friends in the labor movement when this fight comes. And in fact, the fight is coming right now. So the Supreme Court is looking at this case called Janus. Folks in the room are familiar with this? Well, Janus is the culmination of a lot of rich people trying to destroy the labor movement and putting forth these cases and finding so-called union members to challenge the union's ability to function, challenge the union's ability to represent our members. And if Janus takes root, I don't know how it's been characterized by other folks that have spoken to you about it, but the way I'm characterizing it, I think is highly accurate. It's the right-to-workization of the entire public sector in America. And if they right-to-workize the public sector in America, it's the Republicans and the right-wingers, whether they're Democratic or Republican, because the truth is there's plenty of right-wing Democrats that are masquerading as something else. They're going to gain a foothold in federal government that we're never going to be able to break, or that it's going to be a long time until it breaks. So when Janus comes down and that decision from the Supreme Court comes down, we are in the fight of our life. And I know that Local 100 is going to prosper. We're going to survive. And I know the TWU is going to survive because we're already taking steps to organize nationally, to educate nationally, to have one-on-one conversation with workers, to tell them, listen, when you make that choice to follow these rich folks that are trying to destroy public sector unions in America, you're just destroying your own ability to take care of your family. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. If we don't have political power and we don't have the trade union power that we have, the Trump administrations of the world will just continue to win elections year after year, election cycle after election cycle, and that's frankly just dangerous for workers everywhere. Now, so we have this lawyer / organizer who's done a lot of work with the TWU over the years and has emerged as a trusted advisor and friend of mine. And he's going to talk about Janus. He knows what he's talking about. Listen very carefully to him. So, not to leave you on a bad note about Janus, on a good note, we're prospering nationally. We're prospering in New York City. And as the New York City labor movement goes, very much the national labor movement goes. And as TWU Local 100 goes, very much the national union goes. So we will continue to fight hard to support Local 100. We were ready as a national president, as the international president of the Transport Workers Union and an international leadership. We were working very closely with Tony and the leadership of TWU Local 100 to intervene in the potential strike at Miles Square and whatever other fights that he has, funding fights over the MTA, which is coming. So again, we stand ready to support Local 100. The fact that I am a Local 100 track worker is a good thing, but the leadership of the national who aren't Local 100 track workers also understand the importance of a strong, unified Local 100. We're going to put all our resources into ensuring that Local 100 is the greatest union in New York City and continues to be the greatest union in New York City. And I'm proud to be a Local 100 member standing here. We're going to do great. And as a matter of fact, I'm proud to be on that track worker seniority list still. I love seeing my name on that seniority list. And it continues to grow every year. And I continue to be ahead of all the guys that started with me, which I love. You know, there's nothing better than having a better seniority than somebody else. So in closing, lest I go on and on and on and be repetitive, we're going to fight every fight that Local 100 gets into. We're going to be here supporting you. We're going to pump money, resources, resolve a public relations effort wherever we have to go. We're going to ensure that Local 100 wins the fights they get into. We're going to win that next contract fight. We're going to win organizing fights, and we're going to be the greatest, not only the greatest local union, but we're going to be a prominent fighting democratic national union as well. So thank you very much, everybody. Thanks a lot. And it's great to be home.